Gang, gang, hey, nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together till the grave. It's a gang till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip in the hate. We got all the fuck in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
We the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there everyone, Meteorologist Tuttle back with you on a Saturday afternoon about 2 o'clock. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video with your friends and family, and tell them about AT's weather as we're ramping up for our mini severe weather season that sometimes does occur here in the fall, which is usually during the month of October and about the first couple weeks of November, and then sometimes, like a switch, we can go right into winter. I mean, actually, if you recall, was it this time last year, we were dealing with an ice storm. I mean, that was a little crazy, but it goes to show you that this time of the year things can change rather quickly. So there you go. So it pays to be informed. All right, so what we're going to do is going to do a little action here for you. We're going to get into the model data. We're going to show you what the latest is. And what's that say? Joni, you're reading my mind. Yes, I am live. Just in time for you. All right, by the way, you guys on YouTube, thanks for checking in. I see you. Kings of Destruction. You guys' nicknames on there kill me. Andres, Prince of Rain. Welcome. You guys on Twitter also, thanks for checking in and watching. And then, of course, on both Facebook pages. All right, now, if you did notice on Facebook, I did post a link just now. It says opt in to get notified by me directly when I go live on the next broadcast. So what happens is sometimes Facebook doesn't notify you and make it choppy, got football to watch. You want to get notified when I go live, you click on that link and then you set it up, follow the prompts there, and then it'll get you going, okay? So that way you don't miss anything, because it's going to get kind of important here the next 36 hours. We're going to have a pretty big storm system coming in. Yeah, I want you to make sure you are in tune. All right, let's take a look at the data. First off, from the National Weather Service, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather here across central, southern, eastern Oklahoma. Slight, and then green is in marginal, meaning a couple of thunderstorms are possible out here, but the severe threat window starts basically where the yellow line is and then ramps up into the orange shading. Maximum winds up around 60 to 80 miles per hour, golf ball size hail, and a tornado potential. This is the key word here. So more data that comes in, remember we get that models get more accurate once we hit that 48-hour window, and then every 12 hours after that. All right, they start to fine-tune things and really show you the sweet spots, and then it either changes things in the favor of tornadoes, or it says, you know what, no, ingredients are too off, and it reduces the risk. But that's when that window starts to open up, and the window opening up now is for more confidence in seeing a few tornadoes across the state for Sunday late afternoon, evening hours through about midnight over Oklahoma. So you're going to want to make sure you have your storm shelters cleaned out. You got your tornado precautions. Pretend like it's spring, because it's the same type of a situation here. When you do look at the tornado potential outline from Norman, you can see a medium risk here in yellow. Now the question is, the new model data has come out. Does it kind of jive with this? We'll take a look at that. We'll see if there's any changes in order. If you do look at the sneak peek for Tuesday of next week, same kind of idea. We have a very strong, powerful storm system coming in across the Rockies. It will affect a much larger area of the country, including Oklahoma. So the slight risk enhancement is already up for that one, and we'll get to that here in a second. By the way, Tulsa is also in the enhanced risk. If you guys are watching out there in eastern Oklahoma and in northwestern Arkansas, you're in the slight risk, meaning you'll still likely see borderline severe thunderstorms, but they should be weakening quite rapidly after midnight here once it gets into this area. But again, there's the timing for you for the evening hours here in eastern Oklahoma. A few tornadoes possible, damaging winds up to golf ball size hail. Now, the Storm Prediction Center does outline that little risk here across our neck of the woods. And in the wording in here, it does mention a strong cap will help to limit storms throughout much of the day, but eventually warm air advection will kick in, along with some other indices as this storm system approaches from the west. We'll have some good low-level winds for some good shear in the atmosphere to produce supercells with tornadoes with good instability. They did add a little higher tornado risk area because of the ingredients coming together. Looks a little bit better today. Let's see, initial formation up around southwest Oklahoma near the surface low and cold front, and that will track off to the north and east. It does include the Oklahoma City metro area, and will pose a threat for large hail and favorable shear and steep mid-level lapse rates, and of course the tornado threat. All right, now they also, of course, talk about, let's see, let me shrink this for you so you can see it. All right, so there you go. It does include that little risk out here but in Oklahoma for Tuesday, but also that continues on the parts of Kansas and Nebraska. So it's a much larger area for more people, but then nothing after that so far in the latest data as far as storms are concerned, which is good. You know, got to have a little break every now and then, right? Well, that just got really big on me. All right, here, reset that. Okay, now the next storm system, by the way, for Tuesday, here's the large one. So this is how big it is, by the way. Just kind of give you an idea. All this energy rotating around it fairly large. That's why it's going to enhance. It usually does something like this. About this region here is a sweet spot for severe weather. So it's a much larger region, and that is on Tuesday. But again, the devil's in the details. A little early for that, but right now the models are favoring Oklahoma and Kansas for the tornado risk, which is all these colors you see. The brighter the colors, the stronger the risk. That does include Oklahoma. So we might have to start talking about that again. It is beyond the 40-hour window, though, so we won't do that here, but just kind of give you a heads up that that storm system should be pretty potent. All right. Now, for the one late tomorrow, the percentage of severe weather, if we go back in time and compare this to other similar events, the analogs do suggest we'll have at least a 50 to 60% probability across much of central, southern, eastern Oklahoma for at least one report of severe weather. And that's not hard to come by. What about 5 reports of severe weather? And that could be large hail, damaging winds, or tornado. And those categories around 40%, down around 30 or 20%. So analog says we should see at least a few reports. Now, when you break it down into categories, as far as the bigger threat is concerned, it's got a 15% ring here, and it still favors kind of the southern parts of Oklahoma, even to North Texas, down toward Dallas. Keep that in mind. It does stretch up toward Tulsa and Oklahoma City, but on a less favorable range ring. And again, this is historic guidance, so it won't be exact, but it's interesting to look at. It's just a little guidance to throw in, given the current state of affairs. Now, let's look at some indices and see what's ticking. We have to have a few ingredients in place to get not only severe storms, but also tornadoes, for example. All right, so the first thing, let me see. We'll do this map first. All right, so we'll break it down for you. This is the 500 millibar chart. This is where the upper level low pressure system is. It's actually lower level heights, but we just dumb it down to say low pressure because it just seems like it's okay. I can understand pressure. I don't understand heights. So that's why we do it. It's an argument behind the science community, but whatever. So who cares? So the point is, that's where the energy is. Where you see the colors, the brighter the colors, indicates the more lift in the atmosphere. All right, so it's got plenty of lift with it, going gangbusters. And it's in a favorable position where the low is kind of centered here in the southern parts of the Texas Panhandle. And so that puts Oklahoma in a favorable quadrant for severe weather. It's a little small, a little bit more compact, so it's got more of its energy focused right here over the state versus a 3-state area. So that's why the focus for tomorrow is mostly over Oklahoma. Now, if we look at the 300 millibar, which is way up there, the jet stream pattern, we are into a entrance region of the jet and an exit region of the jet right over the sweet spot here. So the jet stream is aligned aloft. At 500 millibars, you also look for a jet streak. Now this is a jet streak right here, this enhanced color. And this jet streak, this is all looking at about 6 to 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. And it is moving on in from the southwest. So the timing is correct and the position is correct for all these parameters. And then finally, let's look at another area of lift. This is 700 millibars. This is kind of on the lower end of the atmosphere, a few thousand feet off the ground. And it does have a lot of lift showing up in those brighter colors here, starting in southwest Oklahoma, and then these will progress eastward. So anywhere you see color represents lift. So obviously there's a lot of lift here, which should generate some cloud cover, but for actual storm formation, it would be more in this area. And the reason for that, well, we need instability. We need a surface boundary, we need moisture, all that kind of stuff. This is the theta E axis. So what this shows at the surface, shows a good strong surface low pressure system here. And it does show this purple, which indicates a lot of deep moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico on racing northward in North Texas and in southern Oklahoma. Now, if you do notice, it puts the brakes on right here in central Oklahoma to the north. So this is kind of the it's not as deep, it's not as rich. So we're kind of on the borderline up here in Oklahoma City and points northward. We're going to talk about there in a second. But the storms love to really turn it up when it's feeding into this environment, okay? So as long as it's feeding into that environment, that's where your most favorable, stronger storms are. And this particular environment will advect northward. This is only at 6 to 7 o'clock. As this low moves from, say, here to here, this will advect this back into central Oklahoma. So, but at the same time, keep in mind, this is a cold front coming in. At the same time, the front will kind of come in on the backside. So there's going to be a squeeze play here as to where the exact track of the surface low is, and that's very important as to who has a threat of severe weather. And right now, it looks like the south and east side of town versus the north or west side of town when it comes to potential for tornadoes or the stronger storms. So that's kind of how that breaks down. The devil, of course, is in the details. We're still, this is Saturday morning data. We'll look at this again Sunday morning to see how things have changed, because I imagine there'll still be a few minor adjustments. But if we look at some of our best high-resolution model data, and look at the NAM and the HER, so we'll split the difference here between the two. This is the dew point value. Now, the NAM likes to get a little excited about dew points, but right now it's got us into the upper 60s and then low 70s down here in southern Oklahoma. Now, that's plenty of moisture for tornado-type development, because you need dew points at least in the 60s. The closer they are to 70, the better, for various reasons. So the other issue is we got to find out where this front is. Now, if you look at the NAM, the front's doing something like this, and then we've got that main area of low pressure down here. We'll have likely a pseudo-low forming, a little meso-low forming a little bit later after this panel, next hour or so in this region. Now, if we look at the HER model, now the HER is different. It already has the front way out ahead of here, and it's already kind of progressed things a little quicker. It's 7 o'clock. It already has the surface low here. It still has the old low here, but a new one are developing here. And what it does is you can see these wind barbs curl back in to an easterly direction. All right, so what happens is then this becomes, let's see what I want, this guy here. So then this becomes the area of interest for potential tornado enhancement. All right, so you kind of have two enhancements. So anytime you get these little surface lows, you can back those surface winds, that becomes the area of enhancement. And as these lows move east and northeast with time, it takes that area of enhancement with it. So in other words, that would then move in this direction, and this would move in this direction. All right, so that puts things more favorable with time, kind of in here after the initial beginning. So that's why as you go from the 6 to 7 to 8 o'clock hour, you just have to kind of shove things east little by little for that potential. All right, so that's kind of how things are very important as to where this the front actually puts the brakes on. Is this model better, and it shoves the front through most of Oklahoma City, with the exception of, say, southeastern Oklahoma County? Or is it more like the NAM, which has the front way up here, and it's got all of the metro in the sweet spot? That's a huge difference. That's a county and a half over. And then we'll expect those more fine-tuned details tomorrow. Which way do I lean? Honestly, right now I lean more toward the HER in this aspect. That's usually the way things play out, but we'll see. We still got some time. All right, now when we look at the HER as far as the tornado risk, if we take a look at the basket, we call it a significant tornado parameter. We're going to look at the 6 o'clock hour, and it does kind of focus most of that activity down here into where'd my pointer go? My pointer just crashed. Well, that was rude. Into southern Oklahoma. Now, if you do see the next hour, you can see how the colors start to increase a little bit here in the southern, and then just east of the metro. So right there, it's out of the metro quick. It's only a couple of hours as far as a sweet spot here in Oklahoma City. It's a fast-moving system. So really, most of the threat risk for that type of activity, it's a very tiny window here in Oklahoma City between basically 6 and 8 p.m., something like that. And then it's more south from there, and it's a little bit east from there toward Tulsa for the next couple of hours, and then it's gone there too. And the colors kind of wind down a little bit as we head into the midnight hour. So there's midnight to 1 o'clock, and they're pretty much gone as they move into Arkansas. They're very low on the scale. Now, in that particular case, you can still squeeze out maybe a weak QLCS type tornado, but as far as these supercell types, it will have to be in the earlier part of the event. We'll get a lot of rainfall out of that, by the way, and that does extend from Kansas through Oklahoma City all the way down north and central and southern Texas even. We're looking anywhere from 1 to 2 inches here across the northern half of the state, and about an inch or a little less central, southern, southeastern. Now, if you get anything with really heavy thunderstorms that happens to move a little slower or gets training, maybe one trains over on top of another, you can double up these amounts pretty quick. But by far and large, you can kind of see where the data is alluding to more of the wet stuff up north. Now, if you do look at the temperature-wise, again, it's hot today. We're in the 90s. It's disgusting. I mean, for this time of the year, we should not be in the 90s. We should be in the 70s, which is where we're going to be after Sunday. So tomorrow is another warm day, a little bit more on the humid side, obviously, some clouds around, and then we're going to cool things down for you back to where it should be in the 70s, maybe even some highs in the 60s by the time we hit mid-October, overnight lows in the mid-40s. So that was a mouthful to tell you all that information. So now what we're going to do is go back to the timing. For those of you folks that are more interested in that, and I wanted to show you a couple things here. We might do this one. Yeah, let's do this. And this kind of helps to visualize what I was talking about. Wait, get that off of there. Let's do this. All right, one more. So, this green area is where all the juicy dew points are. The future radar is overlaid on top of it. So once you notice here in southwest Oklahoma, let's see, let's get that off of there. Yeah. Let me try this. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so in southwest Oklahoma, we do have the initiation of some storms. This is around 6 p.m. This is using the HER model. As we go into 7 o'clock, you see how these storms are moving around the Lawton area in the west of Oklahoma City, and then stretching on up toward northeast Oklahoma, again along that front. So along the cold frontal position, they'll fire up there as well as the cap weakens and the storm system comes out from the Texas Panhandle. Energy overrides it, so all that kind of works in unison to get things going with the jet streak we talked about and everything else. Now, as we go on into the 8 o'clock hour, so here's that big storm rolling through Oklahoma City. Could it be tornadic? Well, at this point, it looks like it could be. And that extends down to this other bad-looking supercell type storm south and west of there along the turnpike. Now, as we head into the 9 o'clock hour, those storms are now east of Oklahoma City. That's why I'm saying you've only got a short window there from about, it's 7 to 9, really, where it rolls through the sweet spot of the greater Oklahoma City metro area. There's still some storms in here around Norman, supercell type looking storms on the east side towards Shawnee, and then back up here toward the Tulsa area. So moving through Tulsa, but however, those storms up there are more clustered into more of a line echo wave pattern. So not necessarily kind of like embedded supercells, but more of a cluster. So the tornado threat probably a little lower up there, and still a little higher where you have the tail end storms here in southern and parts of the metro area, point south and east from there. And that continues into 11 o'clock. So you can see the heavy stuff's already pressing east out of Tulsa. They still kind of going gangbusters down here in southern and southeastern Oklahoma, with the tornado threat continuing down there as we head into the midnight hour, starting to move through northeast Oklahoma, stretching now it's into a squall line configuration. So what's interesting here is that it took a while to get a solid squall line to develop. When you have a solid line develop in this environment, you remove most of the supercell component, which is just a storm by itself, and you replace it with a solid line. Now, when you get a solid line, you usually get a different mode in the atmosphere of severe weather. So you get more of a damaging wind event with pockets of hail. And then sometimes, and things could go right for this tomorrow evening, you can get a leading edge tornado, which is not a supercell. It's what we call a QLCS, quasi-linear convective system. In other words, a squall line type tornado. It's a different process in how it's formed. And so therefore, they're very fast developed, and they die rather quickly, and they're usually on the weak side. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule, but 90+% of the time, that's the way they go. And that'll be the transition through the next couple hours from the midnight hour, from really probably even 11 o'clock through about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So let's go through forward. There's 1 o'clock, 1 a.m., and then 2 a.m. So if you guys are watching out there in Fort Smith, so your timetable looks like probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 to 2, whenever those things start to roll through your area. And they should be weaker than they were when they were moving through Oklahoma. And there's 3 a.m. still kind of going, though. Across far western Arkansas, there's a slight risk of severe weather out there for that point in time, but the model's still hanging on to some pretty good cells in here. So there'll be pockets of severe weather within this line, maybe in a secondary rumble of thunder in the backside of that upper level low as that energy kicks through this elevated storm. So sometimes elevated, you can get a little rumble of thunder, the lightning, maybe some small hail out of it, out of this stuff here. Possibly could be big enough to be borderline severe weather limits. But that's what that would be for while most of us are sleeping up here in this part of the state, and that's out. Now, I know we had some followers down there in Dallas, so let me zip on down here, and then I'm going to back up for you guys. So same kind of idea there. Squall line develops the west side of town about 11 o'clock at night. Now, just like last night, the models are having a hard time keeping this a solid line or having some breaks in the line to allow more of a supercell structures embedded within the line. So because of that, there's probably going to be a light or weak tornado threat in here in Dallas-Fort Worth for the midnight hours this thing rolls on through. So that'll be midnight, and then there's 1 o'clock in the morning. So you got about a 2-hour window as well down there in Texas for DFW. You can see how those continue to move quickly, though, to the east. By 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, they're moving through Tyler. Then approaching Bryan College Station way down there in southeast Oklahoma, and then by 4 o'clock in the morning they're moving out of eastern Texas and then still kind of moving through southeastern Texas. So pretty good, storm system wise as far as the effects of how many it will be hitting. All right, so there's a look at all that. Let me do something here real quick, and then we get to your questions if you have any. Alright, let me put this back up. Let's see, and as a reminder, make sure you click that link that I posted in the Facebook if you want to get notified through your Facebook Messenger that I'm going live the next time, which I'll probably do tonight around 9:30. We'll see what the new data looks like, and then we'll do it again Sunday. So that way you guys are well informed. All right, just going through your YouTube comments here real quick. Kalena wants to know if it's gone moderate yet. Nope. And keep in mind, don't pay so much attention to those risk categories. You can get tornadoes in a slight risk, just like you can get tornadoes in a high risk. It's just a confidence level as far as the number or magnitude. Now, you can have a low confidence, and you can still have an outbreak. Or you can have a high confidence and you can have no outbreak. That's the way it goes. So don't focus too much on that. Well, what we do is, like I told you, we focus on the bare basic ingredients, and then we know in dynamics and physics and what should happen and what can happen and what likely will happen. Everything after that is probability and guesswork and luck of the draw and little things that may foil the evil, dastardly duo's plans. For example, I'll give you an example of that. We can see all this going like I just gave you, right? Let's say you got a supercell coming through Oklahoma City. It's had a history of producing a tornado, right? Well, all of a sudden that front on the north end gets a little bit more of a push, either from rain-cooled air from some storms up there in northern and north central Oklahoma or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden that front comes southward and it undercuts the updraft of that tornado, and it kills it just like that. What would have been, say a big tornado, damaging, whatever, destructive, all of a sudden is eradicated and vaporized all by a 5-mile jog to the south of a cold front. That's how quickly that can happen. That kind of stuff is a micro scale event which you cannot foresee coming, no matter how good the model data is. But that's the kind of stuff that can happen, and it usually happens in real time. So there is a little bit of a leeway. In other words, we can look at trends and go, oh, that front's on the move in the next 20 minutes. That's going to interact here. It may push to here, or it could be a 10-minute window. So there is usually some indication that will happen, but it's on a very short time frame. So that information is given to you live while we're covering these things. And if you haven't watched me before, I do cover tornado events live, and we give you all the science behind it. So there's no hype, no drama, no fear. We're all not going to die here at AT's Weather. That's not how I approach it. So it'll be very calm and laid back, believe it or not, as much as it can be when you're talking about tornadoes. Okay, so let's see a couple of your comments. Let me go through here again real quick. Yeah, my boy Reed Timmer is all over it. He's excited about tomorrow. He loves tornadoes. And then Moji, I think he might be late. That's what we were talking about here today. So yeah, just make sure you got your storm shelter cleaned out, you guys, and you should be good to go. All right, let me see here. Interesting what Twitter did. Okay. So Twitter has a new way of doing these live broadcasts, and I just kind of watched what it did just now. Okay. All right, let me go here to you guys on my Facebook page, and we'll see if there's any couple of questions I'll answer, and then we'll get out of here. So you can continue on with your Saturday. All right. John, yeah. That was sometimes your brain moves faster than your mouth does, and so words can get jumbled up. Plus you throw in a little age factor. You guys are watching the OU game, I know. A lot of you are. I would be watching my Aggies, but man, they stink, dude. We pay that dude tens of millions of dollars. But it's a couple things, obviously, you can't control when your star quarterback gets injured. But, and your backup is never going to be as good as the main guy. In rare cases they are, but those are rare. Thanks for the stars, though, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you. You're welcome, Shelly. I'm just scrolling through Facebook here on my phone and your comments. Sooner magic is happening, according to Tommy Jones. You should have waited till after the OU game. Busy, man. I got things to do. I'm learning about cryptocurrency. So I'm doing like some lessons on that so I can learn more about that whole deal. I got a lot on my plate these days. All right, James, I see you. Yeah, my storm chasers this week didn't really have my storm chasers this year didn't have much to do, so maybe you'll make up for it a little bit more tomorrow. All right, so listen, I just went through some of your comments, so you guys watching the game, but I'll let you get back to that, and I will be checking in with you again here this evening. Again, that link on the Facebook page, I'll post it one more time. If you're watching, you missed it the first time around, I'll do it right now. You can click on this if Facebook is notifying you late or not at all when I do go live, and that will be a workaround for you. You can click two buttons, one that says watch live now, but if you don't hit that manage button, it will not tell you the next time I go live. You have to re-up it. It's like a mini subscription, if you will, and then that'll walk you through what to do. Good, Jory, glad to hear it. James, alpha. We need more alphas, man. We need more alphas out there, that's for sure. Nice alphas, but definitely some alphas. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again soon. Enjoy your weekend and be safe and get those storm shelters ready. Some of you are going to need them, especially in South Central, parts of Central, and parts of southeastern Oklahoma tomorrow. Maybe up toward the Tulsa area. So kind of a little corridor there of action. All right, we'll do it again soon. See you guys.